One of the biggest questions I get, Jaeden, you and I have talked about this before, is what's the difference between cowork and code in Claude? And the reason that we're talking about this today is that Jaeden and I, as often happens with these podcasts, we were just talking offline and saying that we've kind of gone back and forth. And so one spoiler alert is that they're just getting very close. But the reason that Jaeden, I kind of wanted to talk about this today, and you were like, yeah, let's do it, is because I've probably spent weeks now, like the entire summer, going down these crazy rabbit holes of like the difference between code and cowork. Now, remember, I'm non-technical. So first of all, for developers, I hear you guys are out there. You're all like, no, but code. Yes, for developers, if you're a developer, stick with code, whatever. But for everybody else, I think, Jaeden, what people are hearing a ton is that cowork is powerful. And by the way, we'll also kind of like talk about why to even get onto cowork and code as opposed to chat, what the difference is there. But also, just for like the normies out there, what should they be using? What works? And what we hear a lot from people is like, even if you're a normie, just use code. It's so much better. And we go back and forth on that. So Jaeden, where should we even begin here? Because I just want to kind of like, as if we're in the same room as people who want to have this conversation. So we don't have we don't have scripts anyway, but just where should we talk about this? Because I have a few ideas, but want to hear where you want to talk about it.
Okay, so and I'll say this is you've said recently you've been like deep in code, and I go on these weird like switches where probably for the last 3 weeks I've only used cowork, and I could say probably the 3 weeks before that was like only code, and I kind of make these big switches. A lot of it is just like there's a tab on the top to toggle.
Yep.
Once you get into one, you start having all these chat conversations, and I'm like, well, I have my projects here. Like I don't want to move between the two. One thing that we both have mentioned is code, cowork, and Claude Chat are all getting a lot more interchangeable. And it's actually an interesting strategy that Google and Microsoft are both starting to do. They're both starting to consolidate things. Microsoft said they're going to do super app. ChatGPT is doing the exact same thing. ChatGPT, I think, is the most advanced and the most similar to Claude. So if you're interested in an alternative to Claude for whatever reason, I actually have also got the $200 a month ChatGPT subscription, and I'm using it. And I think it's probably 10% better than Claude. But that's big news because I've been using Claude for, religiously for 4 months now. As far as Claude, this last little bit, I've only been using Claude Cowork. And I will ask you something as far as the code goes. With the work that you're doing, do you do much or anything that's actual code, or is it like working on projects where you need to access files and download stuff?
It's
zero code.
All accessing files. So just to sort of paint a picture for everybody, right? Because, and again, if this is too basic for people, apologies, but I think that it's not for a lot of our audience. In chat, as Jaeden said, remember what Jaeden said? Jaeden was like, they're getting interchangeable. Guys, they really are, right? So when people say like, oh, you can't do that, try. Because number one, if you're just in Claude Chat, okay, that's like 95% of the world. That's cool. Oh, by the way, this also works in ChatGPT. It also works in Gemini. We're just talking about code. By the way, Jaeden, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of like digging Codex. That's a totally different conversation. That's OpenAI's product. I love them. Okay, so in chat, if something's connected to your email, right? We've talked about this before. Guys, this is the very first thing you can do. Also, Jaeden, on LinkedIn, I'm doing this whole series called Agent Mindset, which is just me figuring out agents, because I'm also spending the entire summer doing a deep dive on agents for like the total newbies and stuff like that, right? Like people like me. Anyway, if you're just in chat, you can say, connect to my email. It can be an admin aid for you. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, go into my email. What's happening with this client? Can you search all this stuff and check my calendar and check these things in Google Drive? It's extremely powerful. I've talked about that before. Now, if you want to wander over to Cowork and Code, right? So first of all, in Cowork, the powerful thing about Cowork is that first of all, it can do things like skills, which I guess chat can actually now do, but it tends to work in folders. So one thing is people will be like, oh, I'm organizing my folders. Guys, forget that for a second. What it means is that you have a dedicated folder to a thing. So I'll just kind of like tell you, Jaeden, like I have a few folders. The ones I use the most are Agent Learning Journey, where every time I learn something, I'm like, hey, put this in. And I always just like have it kind of clicked on when I'm using Cowork, because then it can just like add it to that, right? Or if I want to kind of talk about what AI Mindset does, right? We work with big companies and we transform big companies using AI processes and teaching and behavioral shift and all that kind of stuff, right? But we're sort of like working on this new product. So I have another folder that says like AI product. So you just kind of connect that folder. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, Jaeden. People are like, you should try Code. So here's the thing that I want people to recognize. So I toggled over to Code, and I'm wondering if anybody else experiences. And it said, well, what folder do you want to work in? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to tell you to build something. And it won't do anything. It's like, but I need a folder. I need a folder. And Jaeden, this is the kind of very basic thing that I think people out there are like, yeah, why? So I talked to Claude a ton about this. And the idea is that it needs like an office space to work in. Even if you just create a fake folder and just be like folder of called stuff, it needs a place to start putting things. It needs a place to sort of like start understanding who you are, what do you want to do, all that kind of stuff. So essentially, like when it's sort of like, if you've ever toggled onto code, it's like, well, what folder do you want to work on? And that feels like confusing. That's actually the power of it. It's just like create a folder, whatever it is, and then just start saying like, here's what I want to do in here. Here's what I want to work in here. It almost feels like a project if you've used projects
Yep.
or whatever. I can't remember what ChatGPT called them now, but like anyway,
GPT.
that yeah, like GPTs,
Yeah.
the custom GPTs, things like that. So that's the idea. You just sort of like put it into a folder, and then the more you do in this folder, it becomes more robust. But also, we start dipping our toe in the agent world. Maybe this is a totally different podcast, which is agents feel mysterious to people. It's like building an agent, all that kind of stuff. And we can leave this for next time. But really, an agent just means how many decisions are you handing off to it? How many times are you giving it a goal rather than telling it what to do, et cetera, et cetera. But I am finding, Jaeden, I'll hand it back to you now. What with code and versus co-work, guys, here's the spoiler about all this. They are basically the same thing. You can go all the way down and find tiny differences, non-coders here, but basically the same thing. So if you're working in one, don't feel like you're missing out. They're basically the same thing at this point.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people talk about Claude Code because they're using like a code compiler. They're using like VS Code or something like that. And you have Claude Code plugged into it. And it's like in your in your code base, you're like chatting and it's writing code right there and you visually see it. And that's kind of a different experience that I think they have kind of Claude Code as like a separate brand. But really once it's on the Claude app, yeah, they're all the same. And I actually think that they eventually will erase the right now. If you like go look, there's like a home tab and a code tab, and you can toggle between the two. And there's like the different conversations for your different projects. I think they will also erase that because if you've noticed on the Claude app now, they have like the home tab, and on home they have chat or co-work. So they're like both of those are kind of inside of home, and then you can go to code and it's kind of its own separate thing. But it feels like there's kind of this consolidation going on. And if you go over to ChatGPT right now, the ChatGPT app, you'll notice there is no distinction. There's no ChatGPT and ChatGPT work and Codex. I guess they do have a toggle for Codex. I've never used it. But it's basically like just another folder, and ChatGPT work is.
Oh no, but look at the top.
Everything.
Look at the top. See, that's where Jaeden, I found that too. But now look at the top. See, now you toggle between chat and work, and when you see the same thing in code. And the difference between chat is just chat. Everybody knows.
Oh, you're
chat.
right. They're doing the exact same thing.
And now it's the exact same thing. And I only discovered that today.
Okay, you got me. They do have it. They changed it a little bit. This is the thing that I will tell you though is absolutely amazing that I love is that the folder architecture that Claude uses, ChatGPT also uses the exact same one. So if you switch over to ChatGPT, and I don't know if you've ever done this with ChatGPT work, you click choose project. You just literally go and search on your computer for your folders. You go to your Claude folder and you click on whatever your folder is, and it can read all of the context, like the MD files and the skill files that Claude's generated. ChatGPT can read them and also implement them all. So there's like no vendor lock-in.
I was doing this today. Jaeden, okay, can I just share something I did today? I feel like we need a podcast series on this because we're going to be all over the place. But guys, just listen to this. So today I was like messing around with Codex, and my whole team was messing around with Codex, right? Because we hadn't used it as much. And same thing. And the first thing I opened Codex, right? And it said, do you want to bring everything over from Claude? And I'm like, okay, let's. And I'm not talking about memory. I'm talking about like your projects, everything like that. I'm like, all right, let's try that. Because guys, when we think about folders, normies like me are like, oh, folder, it's where you have all your documents. But that's not how Claude thinks about a folder. A Claude folder it's almost agentic. It's almost like an agent. It has instructions in there. It has your memory in there. It has the skills it can do. It's very close to. That's why an agent is just made up of a couple of things, guys. An agent is, first of all, the large language model, Claude, something like that. Second of all, it's like the harness. By that, we just mean, is it co-work? Is it the chat? Is it whatever? But then the other thing is just the folder, the stuff it reads. Jaeden, we got to do a whole new episode on agents. But here's the thing that Jaden's talking about right now. The same folder, so I'll call it like AI Mindset Foundational Documents or something like that. Either Codex or Claude, it's just sitting on your thing. Think of it as a filing system that you and your teammate both use. You can both go to the filing system and just like, but then you're just different. And so what Codex did, I don't want to get too deep here, but what Codex does, in the same way Claude has Claude MD, and that's like a little brain inside the folder. It's like it reads that first. It's like, here's what I am. I'm the sales agent. Or here's what I am. I'm the marketing person, right? What essentially, when you bring everything over from Claude over to OpenAI, it creates agents.md and puts that in the same folder. And so when OpenAI opens it, it reads agents. When Claude opens it, it opens Claude MD. It's the same stuff, just two different workers working on it.
Yeah, I love it. And I don't even think I did too much like import or export stuff when I fired up OpenAI. I just clicked on the folder and it could read everything and like execute on everything. And I actually am interchangeable. Right now I have both ChatGPT work and Claude Cowork on my laptops. I'll trigger people by saying I actually have 2 MacBook Airs on my desk right now doing different things.
Such a nerd.
Why do you need 2?
Such a nerd.
And I actually have both on both, and I get rate limited on one, and I just immediately switch to the other and continue the project. There is no such thing as rate limiting when you have both of them. One thing that I'll say as far as differences between the two, I am noticing I feel like I get about twice as much token usage on ChatGPT as I do on Claude. Yeah. And I think the models actually are pretty comparable. I even think ChatGPT's model might be slightly better for some things. I still think Claude takes the cake when I'm doing creative writing projects where I'm getting it to help me with like podcast scripts or different things like that, because I have like a bunch of podcast networks. I will use Claude for it. I think it does a better job. ChatGPT can do it, but it actually takes longer. It has to like run through more stuff. So whatever Claude did in the early days when they pirated all the books in the world, really made their models fantastic.
One of those was mine, man. What do you? Oh, thank God. Jaden's like, yeah. This is Jaden, guys. With Perplexity, early days of Perplexity, Jaden's like, yeah, break the rules. But then you get mad because you have a software company and somebody's going to steal AI Box from out from under you guys. By the way, check out AIbox.ai. Under $10 a month. You have like.
Did I not tell you about that? Yeah, there's a company that did, I think you might even be able to go look at it. I think it's like AIbox365.com or something like that. And it's a Chinese company that has literally cloned us.
Brutal. I'm sorry.
Amazing. I love it. I finally feel validated. But the validation investors never gave me. I finally achieved it.
Okay, listen. So I know we're kind of coming to the end, Jaden. We have to do like, unless people are like, please don't do any more episodes on this. This is all I want to say on this because I get really excited. If you are thinking about like chat versus cowork versus code, don't sweat it. Obviously, there's more that you can do in cowork, and we can obviously talk about that. But if people are like, you got to use code, not cowork, guys, people say like, oh, it's the interface. It's so similar. I have spent weeks trying to find real differences, and they keep disappearing. Every day they're disappearing. Do not worry, unless, again, you're a coder, but then you already know. So if you're sort of like having FOMO, don't have FOMO. If you're using Cowork, you're great. I've just recently switched over to code. There's something about the interface that I kind of like a little better. Not a big deal. Same with Codex versus chat. Also, again, even if you just guys are using chat, please just make sure you're using the connectors to Gmail, to things like that. It'll start to feel like you're doing Cowork. It's not, and just use projects in there. You're still connecting to folders. Again, there's skills in both these things. We want to kind of evaporate the FOMO here. All of these things are great. Yes, are they a little better in Cowork? Are they better in Yeah, but we're trying to eliminate the FOMO here. So listen.
And I will also say, in the very basic ChatGPT or the very basic Claude chat, I am blown away today by what I can do when I have like a project and I'm like, do deep research on XYZ topic, and the chat will go and do the deep research I'm only used to having Coder or Codex or Cowork do in the past. The chats will just go super deep and bring me all sorts of really incredible information. So don't have FOMO, but do ask for deep dives. Do ask for audits. These are the keywords that I use all the time on almost any project. And it's how you get a really elaborate report that is really useful. I get the report and then I say, execute this report. Now, if you are in somewhere where you like only have ChatGPT on your computer or whatever, your company doesn't let you have Claude Cowork or the ChatGPT app on your desktop. I mean, I won't tell you to break the rules, but you could get just ChatGPT to write the report. Then you could take that report and give it to something somewhere else to go and execute it. There's all sorts of strategies out there. But anyways, use these tools, get the audits, get the reports. They're all merging, but they are incredibly powerful. And we hope you guys leverage them to the max. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate all of you joining us for the podcast episode. If you haven't already, we are so close, guys, to 200 reviews on AI Applied. It would be incredibly helpful to the show, to help us get more incredible guests, to help us find more incredible people like yourselves. If you could leave a rating and review, I know we ask all the time, but this is truly something that if you haven't done already would mean the world to us. All right, guys, we'll catch you all in the next episode.